Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. We had a conversation yesterday, as I talked about at the top of the show, with Savion Jones and Whit Weeks and Mason Taylor, and got into the usage of the iPads with Whit Weeks and Mason Taylor. And if you're not aware, this is the first year that you can use an iPad on the sideline in college football. The SEC, the ACC, and the Big Ten have allowed that. In fact, even though other conferences haven't allowed that, we saw an instance where an FCS team played a power conference team and bought them just for that game, and now they can't use it when they go back to their regular schedule. So the rules are a little bit wonky, but in every game that LSU plays in, you can use these iPads. And y'all are familiar, you watch the NFL, Peyton Manning going through the still photos that he wants to look at, and then you got Tom Brady slamming the Microsoft Surfaces on the sideline and all that. This is that coming to college football, and you can go ahead and check out the iPad between series. And so the first guy that we talked to about it was Mason Taylor, and we're not going to cut it up into bites for Mason. We'll just kind of play the back and forth between Mason and the reporters to kind of get a feel for how the offense was going through the iPads on Sunday night.
Every position group should have an iPad, so if I wanted to see something about the run game, I can go walk over to the O-line and hear what they had to say about it or whatever, or I can go to the quarterbacks over there and see, oh, look, Nuss, this guy bailed or whatever. So you can kind of just bounce around, but yeah, everyone has an iPad.
Are there coaches that are like coaching y'all, or just the players are looking and talking?
The coaches, yeah, the coaches they're talking to us, but I mean, we see the things on the field more than the coaches do on the sideline, so as long as we communicate that and kind of see everything and communicate, it's a really great tool.
Are y'all going back there every time you come off the field?
Yeah, for sure. Right to it.
And that back part was the interesting part because it contradicts, well, it doesn't contradict. It's the opposite of the way the defense is doing things. But that's interesting for me with Mason Taylor is that every time they come off the field, all those guys are going straight to the iPad. This is a new way of coaching. And you understand that, like, none of these college coaches have had this at their disposal before during the drives where their team is on the sideline. So this is going to be, I believe, a bit of an adjustment for them to use it. It's a benefit because you've got this new technology that you've never had before, but you're going to have to do things a little bit differently. It's probably easier because I would imagine they used to have to get, well, not imagine, I know, they used to get the dry erase board out and like draw it up. Well, now it's quicker. You can just get it and point to it and go. I don't know who's in charge of loading these things. I don't know, who's in charge of making sure they're where they need to be. Like, there's probably a lot of like staff work that's got to be done that never had to be done before to have this stuff ready when the guys come off the field. But I think it's fascinating that every position group is now huddling around these iPads and kind of scrolling through things. And Mason Taylor said he and the offense were doing it every single time. Now, this is Whit Weeks, and he talked about the defense using it and specifically the special teams actually using it as well.
Yeah, we did. So that's obviously brand new. So like I would use it on special teams almost more than defense, but because Coach Baker didn't want us to come off and just be watching the whole game. So he'd pick out certain plays that he'd want us to watch and be like, what are you seeing here? But then really on special teams, they're helpful too.
So it's more so the coaches identify something, they bring you, as opposed to the players coming off the field and saying, hey, I need you.
Definitely. Like, it's not like we're on the – if you want to see something, they're definitely going to let you see it. Okay. But Coach Baker is the one who's like finds the play and he's like, hey, so he shows it to you. Okay. So you don't really have to worry about that when you're coming out.
And then he talked about, as you heard there, he said that Coach Baker doesn't want us just staring at the iPads every time we come off, which is different than obviously what the offense is doing. But Weeks also talked about the special teams and said, like, what's interesting about special teams is only one rep. And defense, you got a whole drive. You might have 5 plays, 8 plays, 13 plays before you come off, and then you've got to like identify one. Special teams, like, it's one rep, it's one punt, one kickoff, whatever. And Whit told us that the first time he actually came off the field and said, "Get me the iPad," was on the kickoff return that Zachariah Branch like busted up the seam, that you had to have the kicker make a miraculous tackle to stop him from scoring a touchdown. And Whit said they went right over, and it's one rep, so you can take it, slow it down, start identifying what's going wrong, what's not, and you know exactly what you're looking for. So he thought from the special teams perspective, it was really, really helpful for them. You can diagnose a problem really quickly in that way. So this is I think a cool thing for these players. This is something that's going to be new. And my thing is, like, I really trust LSU's coaching staff. I think all these guys are really, really good. And the more information and the more tools you can give really good coaches, like they're just going to be able to be even better. And so, yeah, you could look at it and say, well, LSU lost the game. Well, they did. Like, I'm not saying that it's going to make LSU some sort of unstoppable force, but the players seem to really appreciate it. They seem to be getting into a routine with it. Keep in mind, like, they didn't use this much during the preseason. We talked last week with Greg Penn talking about the helmet that the coaches were talking into. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier's been working with that, but the defense is kind of rotating through it. They had used the iPads in one scrimmage to this point. This is going to be something that I think they continue to evolve with as time moves on. And that's another piece to this schedule that I think is so good because, yes, you started off with a game that was more difficult than almost anybody in the country, and you've got a loss to show for it, and that's bad. Like, there's no two ways about it. That's a bad deal. But you've got a month here where you can fine-tune a lot of stuff. And, I'm fully aware. I am absolutely dismissing South Carolina and UCLA. I think those two teams stink. I think they stink. And so I think LSU is going to beat those two teams. I think South Carolina and UCLA are significantly worse than Alabama and Ole Miss and Texas A&M and Oklahoma and a lot of the teams that LSU is going to see moving forward. I would put them probably in a category with Arkansas moving forward, like in Vanderbilt. Like I think that's the pool that UCLA and South Carolina are swimming with. They're swimming with Arkansas. They're swimming with Vanderbilt. Like that's what I think of them. So I believe that LSU is going to win those games. If I'm proven wrong, I'll sit right here in this chair. I'll say I'm an idiot. I was wrong, and we'll keep talking about LSU's football team. But right now, my analysis after 1 week of football is that those two teams are not any good. So you've got a month before the bye week to get your process figured out, to get your rotations figured out. That goes to what you're going to do on the sideline with these iPads. That goes to what your rotation is going to look like at running back now that John Emery's out. That goes to whether or not you're going to play young players as defensive back. Like all that stuff is stuff you can work through over the next month before you hit the bye and get to Ole Miss. And I think this is an interesting part of it. When we talked to Taylor and especially Weeks, like their eyes like kind of lit up when we started talking about the iPad. You could tell that Sunday was an eye-opening thing for them to have that tool at their disposal. Now it's just a matter of getting the most you possibly can out of it. So that I thought was interesting. I've got a piece up on it at louisianasports.net if you'd like to check it out. There's lots up at louisianasports.net from the day. I've got some matchups to watch, LSU and Nichols, and I had a little bit of fun with it. I'll be quite honest with you. I did not dive into how Savion Jones off the edge matches up with Nichols left tackle. I did not talk a lot about how Kyron Lacey matches up with Nichols' number one cornerback. I don't think that's relevant or interesting to anybody because LSU's players are all significantly better than Nichols' players, and that's just the way that goes. So I didn't necessarily dive into that like I did last week. Had a little bit more fun with it, talked about some of the things I'm looking for in the game on Saturday. So if you're looking for some easy reading with a couple of jokes put right on in there, you can check that out at louisianasports.net on the top page. Charles Haniger's column that he'll write for us every single week. It's called Checking IDs this week. That's up there on the top page. The Saints restructured Juwan Johnson's contract. That's up there. Then, of course, on the SEC side of things, DJ Lagway, Florida's quarterback, is going to be the starter. Graham Mertz dealing with concussion. He's not going to go against Samford. Lagway is the starter, and Chris Marlar's got a piece up on that over on our SEC tab on louisianasports.net. Keep in mind, all of it is completely free to read at any time, so go check that out when you've got a few minutes. It's Louisiana. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.